everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. There's a big problem in the vinyl community. Something crazy is going on and you're not going to want to miss this.
Begin today, you'll find it nice. The quickest way to paradise.
All right, so I may be a little bit late to jump in on this because it's been talked about for the last few weeks here within the vinyl community, and that is a problem with a major brand and specifically a very popular new product. You may not be surprised at all to know that I am talking about none other than the Audio-Technica LP70x. The brand new, it just came out last year, gorgeous turntable from Audio-Technica, fully automatic. This was supposed to be the LP60 killer, the next level, the gold standard in entry-level automatics. It was priced right there where it needs to be to compete with the new offerings from Sony, from Crosley, from others. But, you know, Victrola even jumped in on this, guys. We've got everybody jumping in on this new automatic, not new, it's been around for a long time, but this sort of resurgence in automatic turntables. They are popular, they're easy to use, they're really cool, and usually they work really, really well. So I purchased mine directly from Audio-Technica about 6 months ago, and I was very excited. In fact, I pre-ordered it, and I picked the one, as you know, if you've seen the videos, with the sort of bronze / copper and black, and it's got kind of that Duracell copper top look to it. Very sharp, and there's a couple different color variants. I got the bare bones model without the Bluetooth because I don't need that personally. And it was, I think it was like $150, $200, somewhere in that sweet spot there. And it came out at the exact same time, roughly, that other companies were bringing on similar products to the market. So it was like this crazy year for automatic entry-level turntables, and I just loved it. We reviewed them all, by the way, but I just loved this. I've had it at my right-hand side, right down here, ever since then, and have just been loving it to death. Well, a few months later, this is like just late December, actually more like early January, I start getting these comments from people, and they're like, hey, is your LP70 skipping? And I'm like, skipping? No, it's not skipping. And I, didn't think much of it at first because isolated comments can, run the gamut of anything. They can be, every individual person may have a very different experience than another person. So, once you start seeing a pattern develop, then you really take notice. So after a while, I got another comment, and then not too long thereafter, another and another and another. Pretty soon, I'm being swamped with comments, questions, emails. Hey, what's going on with the LP70x skipping? And I still was kind of baffled because mine was working just fine. And this had been a few months after, the news sort of broke about this happening to some people. Well, lo and behold, my unit starts skipping.
Oh, great Scott!
And at first, I'm thinking all the typical things, like everybody. I probably go through the whole, cycle of reacting to this that everybody did. Making sure the record's clean, making sure that the speakers are well isolated, different playing surface, etc. from the turntable. And I'm just blown away and baffled, like what is actually happening here? And it's happening more and more. It's skipping, it's looping, and it's just like, what is going on? So I've been tracking this story for the last couple of weeks with members of the Vinyl Nation. They know this has been going on. If you want to get on the inside scoop, definitely think about joining us. Just $1 a month for extra and exclusive content, early access to some shows, etc., other features. But anyway, I've been talking about this, and because, this was a review product, I also wanted to engage our partner over at the marketing company, the ad agency, if you will, that Audio-Technica uses and that we work with. Now, remember, I bought this. This was not a product sample. So I had the full disposal of the Audio-Technica tech support and RMA process at my disposal. But I first wanted to go to this individual and just kind of see what I could find out. Now, initially there wasn't a lot of information on that kind of path that I pursued, so I decided to go back to Audio-Technica and directly, just like a regular customer, which I am for this product, and say, look, I've got a problem. They promptly responded, and after the first, take a look at these knowledge base articles, and if you're still having trouble, let us know. And then they sent me a return label. So I packed it up. I didn't have the original box, so I had to make shift a little bit, but I packed it very well, and it has been sent off. That was late last week. So the turntable, as of the FedEx notification I received, I think this morning, is in their hands. I don't know what the response is. Now, looking at other people's comments elsewhere online, I have seen things like they've been told to add a platter mat to it. They've been told to do this and that, and I've heard other people say that they did RMA the unit, but they added fluid to the tone arm, whatever that means. So it's somewhat ambiguous, and I'm fascinated to see from a storyline perspective. This may suck from the perspective of, oh, my turntable's out of service right now. By the way, I've got the Sony LX310, I think it is, automatic in its place. It's a worthy replacement for now. It does have the base Audio-Technica 3600 cartridge, and the tracking angle's a little off kilter, but it gets the job done. Same basic functionality. But I'm curious from a storyline perspective, what is going to be the outcome here, and what are they going to do as a whole? Are they going to discontinue this product? Is it a bad design? Now, it's not a surprise that Audio-Technica, Crosley, Victrola, a lot of companies OEM their products with different partners overseas. I think it's probably a handpinned turntable. I don't have any verification of that. It wouldn't be that hard to find out, but I don't care enough to find out. But regardless of who the OEM is for this, it's got a bit of an issue. So I've seen other videos out there on YouTube. People have been very creative in their attempts to fix this. The number one thing that people have talked about is adding tracking force to the tone arm. Apparently some people added putty. I would never do that. I personally wouldn't do that. This is all personal. I can't tell you what you should do, shouldn't do. But for me personally, I don't like and never do add weight, arbitrarily to fix tracking issues. In my opinion, there's a bigger reason why that has happened. I saw one guy who was very patient, and rather than send it back and have it be Audio-Technica's problem, which it should be, he chose to, rightfully so. It's his choice, his product. He owns it. He could do what he wants to it. And he opened it up. He packed it full of anti-resonance pads. He did some work with the tracking force and a couple other things. I think he added extra lubrication, and he fixed the problem. Now, this begs the question, what is the problem? What is the problem? The tone arm, the cartridge has a specific tracking value. It should have a certain amount of tracking force applied. As you could tell from our original video, which I'll link down below, this one spec'd out fine. It was on the lighter side, but it was within range. So you can expect skipping issues from a cartridge that's tracking too light, outside of its range. But if it is tracking within its stated, published, specified range, then you shouldn't have any problem whatsoever. So is it a problem with a high mass or low mass tone arm? Again, I don't think so in this case, because I think it comes down to, really just where that cartridge, where it meets the road, where the rubber meets the road, which is going to be that stylus, which is going to be impacted by primarily the tracking force. And how does this achieve tracking force? Some turntables, mid-range, higher-end turntables, use a counterbalance on the back, like a chunk of metal that you can adjust. You can dial it in, as we've seen on numerous turntables, to achieve the right balance and thus the tracking force. This one, like a lot of entry-level units, uses a spring instead. I misstated in the original video that I thought the tone arm had a counterbalance built into it because it doesn't have an obvious one at the end. I thought it was kind of inserted into the tube some metal weights. An observant viewer noticed that actually there's a little spring back there. So it is a spring counterbalance. Shouldn't be a problem. Spring counterbalances aren't my favorite because a spring's tension can change over time. I mean, it's minute and it would probably take decades for a difference to happen. But the one thing about a physical metal counterweight is that it's never going to change. It's always going to weigh the exact same amount. So keeping in mind that this does use a spring counterbalance, that's something to consider. Is that value changing? Is the spring wearing out prematurely? What could be causing the issue? One design feature of this turntable, the LP70X, that is different and never seen before as far as I can tell, is that for the lift shelf, instead of using the typical shelf that lifts up the tone arm, it has sort of a peg leg coming down from the tone arm that rests on a lower shelf. So you've got like this lower shelf and this peg leg coming down here, and the shelf lifts and lowers it, and that is how it achieves, you know, the cueing lever effect and whatnot that it needs. And because of the fact that it is fully automatic, it has to have the full range of the travel of that tone arm, so it's curved around the base of the gimbal. That's all fine and good, but I got to thinking, wait a minute, what if it's not tracking properly and that's what's causing the skips? Maybe take into consideration, first of all, the fact that it tracks lighter, although within range, as we know, but also if there is some resistance as it's dragging across, that peg leg is dragging across the lift shelf, maybe that's adding some resistance that, coupled with the light tracking force, is causing the skips. Well, apparently there's a gap between the little peg leg and the lift shelf when it's in place. So it's not that either, unless there's additional resistance in the tone arm. So is it a problem with resonances within the cabinet? Is it a problem with tracking force? Is it a problem with, you know, tone arm travel resistance? Is it some combination of all of that? Not 100% sure. My guess would be it's a combination of all of that to some degree. But there is a design issue here. A new turntable, even if it's entry level, should not have this much of a widespread issue. Now, what is Audio-Technica going to do about it? They're spending money when they're dealing with fixing and shipping these things around the country and around the world. But how do they rectify this? Is there going to be a 2.0? Is there going to be a subtle design difference that is implemented going forward that they don't even mention because it's all under the hood? Are they going to add resonance, preventative measures within the cabinet? It's a very lightweight device. When you pick it up, it's very hollow. You could tap your fingers. You could just tell it's like a shell of plastic. Thankfully, it does have a nice sturdy metal cast aluminum platter on there, can't think of the word, which gives it the mass inertia it needs. So there's not any crazy wow and flutter. It's a great sounding, great looking turntable, except for this one issue. Now, Reddit has all sorts of posts. There's all sorts of YouTube videos, people discussing this, but that has been my experience so far. This story has not been finished yet, so we're not sure how they are going to address this. If they're going to send me a new turntable, if they're going to repair it. If they do repair it, what are the repairs? Will I be able to figure it out? Is it worthy of a teardown when it gets back to see if they pack the insides with something? I'll be really, really fascinated. I am genuinely excited to get it back and working again, though, because it's a wonderful unit. I think it's beautiful, and I would like to use it again. It's nice and compact, too. But for now, the LP60 continues to reign, and I'm going to officially change my recommendation back to the LP60X series for the best entry-level turntable without speakers. You need to get speakers in order for it to work, powered speakers. But I think that the throne will return to the previous status where the LP70X had dethroned the LP60. But I got to go back to the LP60 for right now until the 70 is sorted. So let me know down in the comments below if you have had this issue with your LP70X, if all of this news would make you hesitant to purchase one, or if you have any ideas about what could be causing the problem that we haven't even talked about or thought about. My friends, that's going to do it for today. More to come on this. Also, more record player reviews coming soon. We got some really cool things that you're not going to want to miss. Again, you are invited to join the Vinyl Nation, just $1 a month. We would love to have you. My friends, that's going to do it for today. So happy record hunting, and we'll see you next time.